Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Anime Watch Club, a bi-weekly group discussion and review where the hosts of the What Do You Say Anime podcast nominate and vote on shows either that we haven't seen or shows that will hopefully lead to a great discussion. On today's episode, the Armed Podcast Agency will be discussing the first season of the 2016 anime Bungo Stray Dogs. Let's meet today's detectives. First up, his ability to automatically infect surrounding people with a 300% increase to have a good time. Ability, J Factor. We have Jay. Jay, how's it going?
Oh, pretty well. Happy to be here. I think this will be a interesting discussion.
I think so too. Next up, his ability is to afford anything he wants. Ability, Dad's credit card. We have Johnny. Johnny, how's it going?
Well, I can afford everything except you wasting my time.
Damn.
Damn.
Johnny, let's go. That new haircut got you a new attitude. I love it. Joining us all the way from 153rd and Tremont, his ability to delete any form of publication on the internet. Ability, you didn't see that tweet. We have Haz. Haz, how's it going?
Man, I had to run through a few publications today. They was talking spicy, mainly my own. So, I'm glad to be here. This may be deleted in a week or two if I don't like it, though.
You're the one who deleted this episode, our previous episode of Spotify. Thank you for that, Haz. Next up, his ability to produce any 6-digit hentai sorts with a screenshot or brief description. Ability, the sauce. We have Kat.
Hey man, how y'all doing? Just making sure y'all are supplied. Yeah.
Appreciate
Hit me
that.
up if y'all got something.
You're my hentai plug. I appreciate you. He's on his honeymoon, but joining us today is Miles. His ability is to stop time only to prove that he is right in the situation. Ability, hold on, I got proof. Miles, how's it going?
It's going well. I've lived many lifetimes, but all of them spent on Wikipedia. So,
Well, we're glad to have you. And Pat.
Oh, yeah. I should get used to that, shouldn't I? Yeah, we're here to talk about all of our abilities and brag and gloat about ourselves. But no, we're actually here to talk about Bungo Stray Dogs, the Studio Bones anime from 2016. Notably, we are only talking about the first season. We did not get to, was it 2 and 3? Is there a third season or is it in production? I can't remember.
the fourth is in production.
All right, that's what I thought. My brain was telling me that, but I don't know why I didn't believe it. Studio Bones has done a lot of shows too. They've done My Hero Academia, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, a couple other Mob Psycho, Noragami, a couple other big name shows. So they're pretty well known, and this is one of their top shows on Mal too. So yeah, it should be an exciting discussion. But as usual, we will start with our initial impressions and whether we recommend the show or not. So we'll go off the first 3 episodes since this is a 12-episode show. Again, feel free to talk about whatever you'd like. Try and keep it spoiler free. So why don't we start off as usual with Miles? Miles, what have you got for us?
Yeah. So, okay, I'm gonna break the rules because my initial impressions of the show don't sum up my impressions of the show well enough. Because I think that like I really didn't like this show to begin with. I think that the first I don't know 5/8 of the show is like pretty bad, and I also think that I went into it trying to engage in it in like the wrong way. Um, I went in like trying to look at this like Monogatari or something. Um, when like that's not what it is, and it's like not its fault. It's my fault for me trying to like fit a square peg into a round hole. Um, I think that there's like some neat stuff to it. Generally, I think that there are quite a few plot holes. There's some really weird character quirks that are hyper present at the beginning and then slowly die off as the show goes on. Um, would I recommend this show? Uh, this is going to be a controversial take, but I'm going to say yes because I don't know why, but I have just this weird feeling that season 2 might be good. So, um, I would say give this a try. Know that it's certainly not perfect, but that it does get better. I know that's like a pretty common anime trend, right? Like, oh, it gets better after 34 episodes or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and say it'll have a very tentative Miles stamp of approval, like a very tentative one.
A cautious one. There you go. That makes sense. All right, Kat. What about you?
Ooh, I just want to say at the beginning of our watch of this show, me and Miles had some of the same opinions. It's weird that we don't now. So I, so when I got into the show, I really felt the same way as Miles. I first few episodes did not catch my attention. Not even the art style was my type of thing. So I would certainly not recommend it. It just doesn't feel good to watch it. It's just sorry, I just read something that Johnny typed in the chat and I was confused.
It's
Anyway,
okay. It happens.
um yeah, I don't think I would recommend this show mainly because the overall feeling that I got from it after the first few episodes was that this show might be good to put in the background, but also definitely might not be good to put in the background with other people in the house.
Okay. Um, so are you saying that because like you don't want to get caught watching it, or is it because it's like got
Well, I
very
definitely don't want to
confusing
be
things on
caught
the
dead watching
screen?
this goddamn show.
Oh well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Didn't you used to review hentai?
Yeah, that's the fucking gravitas of the situation.
I guess so. Well, we'll
All
get to
right.
discussing that later. Haz, what about you? What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, so I only know Bungo Stray Dogs really from the fan base on Twitter and the way people discussed it, right? I know um generally from my interactions, a lot of female fans, a lot of husbandoing. Um so when I went into it with the thought like this show probably not too hot. Probably just very strong, edgy, hot men doing very strong things and being daddy-ish. Um, and I think I was surprised at the first episode and like the first few episodes. I got a lot of structurally like it sets up much in the way that Blood Blockade does. I was surprised by like the amount of structure in the show. Um, and the first few episodes I think are really they're not the best in my opinion, but like they're put together and they're good. But I think in those 3 episodes, you start to see I'm very much someone who lets the show guide me in how I feel about it. And there are variances in the first 3 episodes about like how serious it takes itself, like the larger stories going on here. And, for me, those inconsistencies in like how I'm supposed to feel about the show, especially when they're very sudden, um, which I felt like they were in this show, it definitely makes me not, I'm not too much of a fan of that. Would I recommend this show? This show is not by any means like, although I brought up Blood Blockade Battlefront, it's not that. It's not, it's not like horrible. I just don't. It's one of those shows to me that like doesn't pique my interest to keep watching it. Um, but like if you want to, what I mean, like if you have time left over in your day and you're like, I want to watch a husbando show. I mean, you could watch this. I don't really know what the other options are, so I can't compare. But like, I guess I would recommend it if you're looking for husbandos. If you're looking for something else, I mean, probably not. Probably not.
Fair enough. All right. Jay, what about you? What do you think?
Um, hmm. So I mentioned this kind of multiple times in the like watch club channel in the chat, I should say, that it's kind of difficult to judge this because it all feels like it is setting up for the second it all feels like set up for the second season, more or less. And some information that was revealed about the production of the show made that make a lot more sense that I learned like literally 5 minutes before we started this. And but like pushing that aside as just like enjoyability, like for just for enjoyability, I guess. I think that if you're somebody who likes the subject material, like you somebody who likes watching JoJo's and like you hear the name of the stand and you like to guess what it does if they haven't said it already based on like what musical act it is, then I think you'll really enjoy that sort of deal. Like the guessing the references aspect of it is really fun, even if it's not like a one-to-one of the authors or whatever, and more of like an amalgamation of them and their work, the themes of their works and such. Um, if you like that, you'll really enjoy it. If you're somebody who likes super dark humor and you don't really care about rapid tonal shifts, then I think you'll enjoy it. And if you're somebody who pays attention to the background music of anime a lot, I think you will really enjoy it because it has a really, really good OST in my opinion, actually. So yeah, if you like those things, I would recommend it. If you're somebody who's looking for like a god tier seinen or something like that, then I think that there's stuff you can watch that does a lot of the stuff that this does, but better if you're not super into the subject material or attached to the characters.
Like that show Golden Kamui that we watched a few weeks
Yeah,
ago.
like if
huh?
like Golden Kamui, like if you like the gang aspect of it, then you could watch like Durarara or Bacano or something in that nature. Like if you're into the subject matter and you like those things, I say go for it. If not, then maybe skip. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it soundtrack as good as the Sonic OST? That's the big question.
That is an impossible standard to live up to
It really
That's
right
is.
fair.
there.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
people joke about Michael Jackson being on that shit, man.
that's true. Let's roam around at the speed of sound and move on to Johnny's opinion.
Yeah.
Well, overall, I think the Sonic OST is a bit overrated, but like about the show itself,
Ooh, come in
You're
You
hot.
could be
yours, Gamer.
wrong. You could
Yours
be
get more
wrong,
attention.
I
Johnny.
have
And
literally never heard it in my life, but it sounds pretty bottom tier.
So
And
my joke must have fell flat to you, but that's okay. Johnny, go
yeah,
ahead. What's your take?
anyway, so this is a show that like I've seen a lot because it's quite popular. It's like I've seen it like on Crunchyroll when I'm scrolling through mindlessly for 2 hours because I can't decide on what to watch, so I just sit there looking at stuff. And it's like starting off, I could definitely see like it's why it's like a lot of female fans. It's like the characters. I will say the character design in this show is pretty nice. All the characters look pretty like attractive and stuff like that. But it's like the actual substance behind it, and it's like Jay kind of talked about it. It's like the tonal whiplash of it's like 1 second it's serious, and the other second they're joking around, and like nothing is important, and it's just like it's not inherently a bad thing about shows. It's just I don't think it's done well because the parts that are supposed to be taken seriously aren't, and the parts that like are is just it's done poorly in my opinion. So, yeah, and also like the plot. I mean, I think the plot's okay. There's nothing really too special about it. It's not like the best, but it's also not the worst either. In terms of how I would recommend this, I would say I don't, I don't really know. It's like there's a specific audience that would like this, as people have said, and it like coming from my opinion, I would probably not recommend this show because I think there are a lot of flaws. There's like a lot of other shows I think could like do this genre better, and yeah, that's just what I have to say.
All right, on to Pete. What about you? What do you think?
Fear not, listeners. The voice of the people is here, and I'm here to tell you that I would absolutely not recommend this show. I've been very vocal about Bungo Stray Dogs. Usually, I give it the old college try and give it 3 episodes. I would have dropped this after episode 1. It has my second least favorite character of all time in this anime. I think the theme. This reminds me of Angel Beats, where like on paper, like the themes and like what it's trying to do is like there. It just doesn't execute it at all. The fact that this is labeled as a comedy is a sham. I laughed once in 12 episodes. The characters I just could not get attached to. There's one character I got attached to, and it took 8 episodes for me to like her, which was kind of crazy. And I think like a show that if you want to set up for like more to come. You need to make the beginning parts entertaining. There are other shows that do this that are similar. Mob Psycho season 1 definitely set up more for what's to come, and it was an incredible ride. This, I could not care less. I think I'm gonna say this probably about 60 times in this review. Inconsistent. The show is just so inconsistent in its themes and its delivery and how it handles topics, how it handles the characters themselves, how it handles their power system. I just don't get it. I would say avoid this show. Watch Mob Psycho instead. It's so much better.
Same studio too. There you go. Wow, full circle. Okay. And lastly, I think most people have covered pretty much everything there is to initially say about the show. I don't. I would recommend it. I could see myself recommending it to people who are very into writing or very into like some of the people have said husbando culture a little bit, but
A lot.
I didn't
It's
even
okay.
I didn't even get that vibe from the show. I was like sitting there like, these aren't as hunky. You know, when you think of like
We're all
husbando,
very
you think
straight, I think. Well, not all
that's
of us,
that
but
too.
Hey,
you
yeah, I
know,
was about to say, speak for yourself.
yeah, no, I said, but
Fair
I
enough.
mean, I think not getting it does make sense if you're like a very straight
Yeah,
dude.
and
You know?
I did give myself that caveat too while I was sitting there. I was like, maybe it's just because I'm straight, but
The
but
characters are like female gaze designed rather than male gaze designed a
I
lot.
felt a
Yeah.
lot of parallels to Nanbaka, just a worse art style.
Yeah, I agree. The because like that's a show where like the characters are designed for like female appeal, right? Aesthetically, and I think
Especially
they're
the guard.
the guard is designed for male appeal. I don't care what any of you say.
The guard is a self-insert.
Um,
Yeah, I can never be that hot.
all right. Well, anyways, back to Bungo Stray Dogs. I it is a show that grew on me.
An arguably worse show.
Kat, is this? It's my turn. It's my turn. The uh, I will admit the well was almost poisoned for me before starting the show because I did start it later than everyone else. I do agree that if I was only to watch the first 3 episodes, I would probably not have watched more of the series. I like a lot of the people have said, it changes tones very rapidly, and it's something that I complimented on Golden Kamui a few weeks ago, where I actually liked that it would go from super serious to not like goofy, whatever you want to say, uh, almost a neat snap of the finger. But I don't know why, but the way it did it in that show appealed to me more than it did in this, than in Bungo Stray Dogs, and I think especially that's especially prevalent in the first 3 episodes where it just happens constantly. And Pete mentioned inconsistent. There are a lot of moments where I was like, oh, is this person's just dead, or oh, they took out this like looming threat that was posed as like, I don't know, Jesus himself standing there and staring you down with all of his power, and then suddenly it's like, oh no, I just snapped his arm and then we're done. Like, I don't know, there felt like there were a couple moments like that where I was just underwhelmed, or um I really couldn't like get into it, I guess is really the only way to say it. So um however, by the end of the show, I would say I could recommend it. I like if I don't know if I'm gonna watch season 2 through 4 or whatever comes out, but I can definitely see the appeal long term of the show. So I don't I just don't necessarily condone it myself. But yeah, so I think that gets through our spoiler free recommendations. So now let's move on to some of our more general talking points. Spoilers are on or in limits now. You can say whatever the hell we want. So you have been warned. Miles, I know you had a specific point that you wanted to talk about.
yeah, so I guess I just wanted to talk about my personal journey on this show and how I like looked at it. And because I guess like going into it, I heard that um these characters are like authors or something like that. And I had forgotten that, but after I watched like the first 2 episodes, I learned that, and I was like, maybe looking into these authors will enhance my experience. And so when I initially looked into them, I mean, I did look into the character or the author's like works and stuff as well to try to get a thing, but I didn't super dive into the works. I mostly dived into the lives of the authors and all of that. And it wasn't until episode 11 or 12 when the guild shows up, who are a bunch of American and Canadian um, authors. They show up, and I realized with them that they were basing the authors, they were naming them after the authors, but the personalities were much more based on characters from their works than the authors themselves, which caused me to then go back and retroactively look at everything and realize that it was like not nearly as bad as I thought it was, as like representing what they were trying to representing. I will say I think it's a little unintuitive to do it that way, because you could be familiar with an author and not every work of it theirs per se. Um, but I think I also went into it like trying a little bit too hard. Like one of my favorite moments from like Watch Club history was when we were doing our Bakemonogatari episode, um, and just like the absolute depth that Hachikuji's arc has, like with her name and all of it, and it's just the most absurd thing in the entire world, where like every character means something super deep, and you can like go on this like 7 hour long thing learning about pilgrimages in Japan and the shape that you travel and all of this stuff and how that relates to her life. And I guess I don't know why this wasn't fair of me, but I was expecting them to do that for like every single author um, that they went at, and I was, I guess, just initially disappointed that that wasn't there. Um, but when I started viewing it more like JoJo stands, or like I don't know, Azure Lane for authors or something like that, um, I think I think it's a little better than Azure Lane for authors, but I think that's actually a pretty good general gist of it. I had a much better time with it. I think it was like I was taking the show to be way too serious, because that's, like I'm that guy who like really likes Bakemonogatari and Tatami Galaxy and all of that stuff, and I just like try to force that on things. So if you are going to watch the show, I would suggest um or any show. This is just good advice for watching shows. Take the show on its own merits. I don't know if anyone else had um, thoughts on like the general subject of how these things matched up or not. Johnny, you did.
Okay, so like this is gonna be like a really crazy comparison. But to me, this show is kind of like JoJo's in the way like they try to bring in like stuff from like other things. So like you know how in JoJo's like stands are based off of like famous bands and singers and stuff like that. Even though like and like I'm not too familiar with it, but like half the time the powers have nothing to do with the actual abilities of the stands. I think Jay knows a bit more about this than I do. Jay, can you help me out here?
Like I say for most of them, the like if it's like a character name, most of the time it won't have anything to do with it. But for stands, usually the name will inform you somewhat. Like about, I'd say like 90% of the time, 80% of the time, something like that. But
Mm,
yeah, JoJo's is a bit more clear about it a lot of the time, I would say.
yeah.
Jay,
So
what
like
did you think about? Oh, Johnny, you can continue.
yeah, so like I was just gonna say it's like I think it's like in the same way as JoJo's, where it's like that part of the show isn't like the main point of the show, kind of like how with Bakemonogatari, like the stories about like the monkey's paw and stuff like that are actually integral to the story. I think in this show it's more just there to be cool, in my opinion. I mean, like maybe they expand on it a bit more in the future seasons, but it's just from the way I see it, it's more of like that kind of situation.
How
So
would you want that expanded upon is my question. Sorry to
yeah,
interrupt
I
you,
don't.
Miles. I'm curious.
So I guess like I don't necessarily think I would want it expanded upon. Like I don't think they need to go into it in the show. I guess like what I was looking for was legitimately probably impossible to do, but for like the themes of the powers and every decision the character made to be like invocative some way of these authors' themes and stuff,
Mhm.
and that's just me chasing the high of like the best symbolism I've seen used in anime, right? But when I sort of change my expectations for that, I mean, I do think they do a good job. I don't know what your opinion is on Jay of like I would say like 70% to like or like 50 to 70% of a given character like on average is probably like a good amalgamation of the themes and works that an author provided. I would say like the major exception is Naomi, and um that would be like my one major.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Honestly, I think most of them are pretty spot on it. Not like I'm not an expert in Japanese literature by any means, mind you, but from what I've read and from what people who are more into it have told me, they're pretty good in that. And
Yeah, it would. I would
the
say it would
American
skew
authors,
higher if I have a bias on my estimation because I don't
yeah.
know everything super well.
Well, the American authors I've looked into that spoiler alert show up in the second and third season, they're all like I think they're all really well done. Like they got them, they're all
It's
That
a
was I agree. Well, actually, I think Stoker's done like a little meh, but
yeah, they went a very obvious route with him. It could have been done better. I agree with that.
yeah, but well, and so and very coincidentally, I looked at one like English author in order to like try to get a grasp of this better early, and I just like spoiled myself that Stoker was in it. Looked at him and was like, "This is bad," and just assumed that everything else was bad. And then
Mhm.
like when the rest of them show up, I mean, what's her name who wrote Anne of Green Gables, right?
Lucy Maud
Um,
Montgomery.
yes. So the character that she is, her namesake is very much obviously based on Anne, right?
Yes,
Like,
yeah.
there's a Raggedy Ann doll Stan that's like her power that like creates horrible pocket dimensions. She's an orphan like Anne. She's a redhead like Anne. Like
Hmm.
it's and that was the main one that include also F. Scott Fitzgerald being a
Yeah,
little more posh like
yeah.
a character in one of his stories as opposed to him in real life. Um, were the ones that sort of clued me in and let me go back in that. Pete, I know you had something to say on this.
I just want to. I was like going to mention because I'm kind of in the same boat as you, where when you see these like cool elements in stories where you can go out and learn more information, and it emphasizes and increases how I feel about the show. I feel like that's kind of like what Bungo missed was that they made it seems like they wrote down the theme first and then wrote the story, where they didn't make the story entertaining enough for me to go and actually go out and like find more information because it didn't encapsulate me in the story itself. Or something like
Mm.
Neon Genesis, where I fell in love with the story and I want to find out more about Cele. I want to find out more about Nerve. What was the first impact? Tell me more about the second impact. Stuff like that, where the story engrosses me to go out and actually go find those things. I feel like that's where Bungo Stray Dogs like missed the mark on having these cool outside themes that I would love to explore if they gave me like a enjoyment factor to actually go and do that. Has I know you had something to say about this as well.
Yeah, as someone who doesn't like learning, right? um, it for me it was just I guess where as in JoJo's right, like you have Grateful Dead, right, and all these references. Um, but JoJo's exist before the reference. You know what I mean? Um, like you have Jonathan Joestar, you have Dio Brent, right? You have these and this story, and it all exists before the references. Whereas to me, when I learned that like every character is named, it feels like the show is built on this,
Can
but
I
it doesn't
interject real
commit.
quick?
Sure.
Because I just looked at the Wikipedia article and it mentioned that the author or mangaka literally came up with it first as like she want I don't know the genre or the gender, sorry. They literally wanted to do like famous authors as teenagers or young adults with supernatural powers. So like that is the concept it was designed around. The story did come afterwards,
Yeah.
for what
And
it's worth. I just wanted to give some context, more or less.
no, no,
Sorry.
it feels like I guess like maybe it was just the thing
And
that's lost in translation is
mhm.
the as teenagers part because if you if they're not who they were in their lifetime, right? Like it gives freedom for like character deviation and stuff.
Once you're done, if it's okay, I'll add
Yeah,
something onto this.
yeah. Um, but like watching it and then learning this is what it was, and then like learning like, oh, it didn't really fully commit to that bit, but like I guess it's supposed to be a teenage interpretation, so there's obviously gonna be deviations. It's just like it felt like there was like there somewhere it got miscommunicated like what they wanted to do, and they were struggling between like
Mhm.
we're gonna make this a deep dive about like authors using like the cool psychic powers, and then like this story about like a armed agency that solves crimes. You know what I mean? And that's why for me it was it just kind of jerked me around. Like what should I focus on? Should I take it just as this story that I guess has like everybody as a reference, or are these references super important?
Mhm.
So
No, yeah, I agree with that overall. I think I don't know. Like, to use like a game design term, it's a little bit of a case of like top-down design versus
Yeah.
bottom-up design, where some people will come up with a story that they want to tell first, and then and then the characters are designed first, and then like world building and general concept of what you want to do is like designed afterwards. Whereas in this case, they said, "Hey, I have a general idea of what I want to do. Let's rock with that." And then the plot can be designed like after we're done with characters and such. So I guess it's kind of a matter of taste, but I think when it comes to the fact that, oh, and another thing, the thing that I mentioned earlier that was revealed to me before we started, this was originally going to be a two-core show, which explains why it feels so like everything's just a setup for the second season, because originally it would have all been in one season, granted with like a small delay. So they kind of messed that one up. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like it makes a big difference in my opinion, I would say. I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
I know Pat
100%.
wants to go, but I'm going to quickly speak to Jay's point and then let Pat say the thing he wanted to say. But I mean, I would say for me it did, because say in a world where this was our two core show, right? If say the second 12 episodes had the same quality and like vibe and stuff as episodes like 8 through 12 of this, um I could see the score of my show raising by like 2 points. I legitimately think that, because I
Mm,
think it takes it struggles to find itself a little bit initially, and then it does, and it runs with it, but then you only have so far to run at that point.
yeah.
Pat, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was just gonna take your point about what you expected going into the show, and maybe that's why you were disappointed. Like for me, I was expecting this to be kind of Fate, but for literature nerds rather than history buffs like me. So like I
Yeah.
was
That'd
expecting
be lit.
a little bit more like, because in Fate, are the characters literally themselves? Well, no, because fucking King Arthur's a chick, and like
which is a huge improvement.
Spoilers.
uh, no, that's revealed in the first episode. I'm not being guilted over that one. Um, no, I'm not taking the bait.
It was worth a shot.
Yeah. Oh, I was about to spoil something else though, so actually, good catch. But other characters are not perfect carbon copies of themselves, so to speak, right?
See,
So,
the character was on screen twice at the same time. You don't get that spoiler, but I do.
okay, cool. I'm glad I'm not part of my own joke. This is great. Um, but anyways, but yeah, so like I don't know. So I loved Fate because it had all these historical figures and these people I've either learned about or heard all of the legends about over the years and whatever. So maybe if I liked literature more, I would have been able to latch onto these characters more. But then that was my initial thought. But then after hearing everyone talking about it, it's like, oh no, these aren't based on the authors themselves. Which of course, I don't know. An author is a lot less interesting most of the time than what their works are, right? Like it's hard to say that let's say all these different authors that they're based on would be that interesting to watch, or that they would all be cool enough people to have their own power based off of them. I mean, Christ, we could barely, between the 7 of us, we could barely come up with our own powers, so to speak, right? Like, it's not an easy thing to do. Um, so I don't know. Maybe that my main point though was that maybe my expectations are why I didn't enjoy the show initially, especially as much as I thought. Although I think that there was a lot of other stuff going on too that led to me not enjoying the first few episodes. Do we want to talk about that actually? Because I feel like that was
Pat,
yeah.
in your author fate, who would win, Stephen King or R.L. Stein?
Oh God. Well. So again, if they had the powers of their books, then Stephen King just kind of wins because the mist is like
Solos.
OP, right?
Solos, yeah.
He's also hyped up on cocaine the entire time.
Also, he's from Maine.
That makes you a better
Defend
He is
author.
your
from Maine.
region.
He's pretty cool. Pretty cool New England bias, right? Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it would be pretty damn close. It would probably depend on who gets the jump, right? Because
What is
R.L.
R.L. Stein's ability? Reader beware, you choose the scare.
Children's horror.
Listen,
Not
children's
Stephen
horror
King.
is wild.
Spooky pumpkins.
Yeah.
Stop. Dumb shits was
Tell
serious.
me you
Those
haven't
were-
read any Stephen King.
Say
without
cheese and
I haven't read
die
any Stephen
would be
King.
I've
his.
All I know about
Stephen Stephen King. I read the
I know-
Langoliers.
No, never mind.
Okay. Well. Anyway, so I think the main problem for me, if we're ready to move on, I think the main problem for me with the first few episodes, we talked about it a little bit, was the tone shifts, and one of them. I think the way that Golden Kamuy, again, just to bring this back up, did it better for me was that it never felt like something plot relevant or super serious to like the general story of Golden Kamuy was solved in a truly just comedic way or in a non-direct way. So maybe an example that of this happening in Bungo Stray Dogs would be when the people I think it was in the 3rd episode when the this guy is shown to burst down the doors of some warehouse, shoot up the whole place, whatever, effortlessly, and built up to be this immense threat. Right? He goes to their headquarters, shows up, busts the door down, and says, "We're gonna kill you all. Good luck. Like have fun, whatever." It cuts away, and then suddenly they're throwing out all the guards and the henchmen out the window and beating the guy by just like flipping him over their back or whatever. Like that to me felt like it was taking the piss out of the whole situation and felt so not serious when I was expecting like a real battle or some sort of threat to come from these people rather than again the comedic way that they did it where it's literally turned into like a chibi art thing when they're throwing the guards out the window. So those tone shifts are where it really messed with me early on. It doesn't happen as often later on in the show, which is probably why I like it more as I keep watching. But I don't know. Did other people feel the same way? I mean, who wants to
So
go first?
for me, I think that it was when I watched that part of the show, it was more like a normal kind of like shonen transition because like it's meant to take place in a normal world and like you see the same type of stuff go on with like say Hunter x Hunter. I don't remember the first few episodes as well as I do. Yeah, it happens in Hunter x Hunter, where you have the main characters with Nen. Their powers are shown to be more powerful than some some brutes, and in this show, it's meant to show that their powers are meant to be more powerful than a bunch of dudes with guns. That's what that whole scene was meant to accomplish. Now,
Sorry, but the people that they take out in that scene are people who have abilities, actually.
There's 3 of them with
Yeah.
abilities.
Yeah, like there's
Yeah.
the
And
big
there's
main
20
guy
armed men.
who
Like, one of them is like the Port Mafia's like main assassin.
one of
or
their
some shit like
associates or
that.
whatever, right? Like the guy, yeah, I'm talking about, yeah, like the guy Did he have a mullet, or am I misremembering that?
Wait, is it the guy
I'm
in the
talking about the
suit
guy with
or
the
the ninja?
bandages on his. Yeah, the ninjas guy.
There's a few of them. That's the
Yeah, I
Sauce-
guess, but yeah, like he's shown in like one of the last scenes of the show too, like bowing to the head guy, right? So
Yeah,
like,
he's important from what I
which
understand.
like by the way, why do they just throw them out instead of having them arrested? I guess because they know they'll get broken out.
Oh,
But
they
then why
mentioned
fight back?
they mentioned they have power in like every form of the government. Like
Right,
they
so
would
like
just
they
not.
getting
They would
arrested, they
get out.
get released. But
They
like then
wouldn't.
okay,
They
well,
wouldn't do anything at all.
well then why
Basically,
not kill them? I don't know, or why not
because they don't kill
incapacitate them?
people.
Well, then what's the
He
purpose
didn't
of why do they exist
listen.
as an organization? What
Listen,
do they
he
do?
he
I'm sorry,
private
you know, I'm asking
investigators.
questions that there's not answers to.
There's
He
I'm
private
didn't-
Basically,
investigators. They
what
do,
I'm
like, side
hearing.
quests,
Wait, hold
basically.
up. Let's let Jay talk, and then we can go from there.
I
I'm
mean,
sorry, Jay, I'm not trying to-
No, it's okay. I understand, but if they're anime private investigators, they basically do side quests for a living.
Yeah.
Like they don't necessarily have to kill people to do that most of the time.
No,
They just
that's
solve
true.
mysteries.
Yeah, and then they create more mysteries and problems by
true.
letting them
It's
roam
true.
in
This
the
is
wild.
Scooby Doo.
The plot must march on.
The plot must march on.
Okay,
That's a good
Kat,
point.
you wanted
Back
to say
Kat's
stuff
point.
as well.
So basically, what I wanted to say was that my biggest issue with the whole show was that it took itself the tonal shifts took itself as if it were uh a joke of a show, and then took itself way too seriously at certain points. And like you said, Miles, at the beginning, it felt like it was just trying to catch its stride, which is cool. I mean, I've written a book or two before, and like I've had that feeling where like I don't know what's going on with my characters because I wrote the characters first, but I didn't write the story. I didn't write the main plot, so I'm just trying to find a stride. And then once I find a stride, it becomes so easy. But like at this point, don't you like revise and go back and try and iron out some of the things that were wrong with it? Like, don't you have an editor, especially if you're like making an anime out of this or a manga? Like, I don't. See, that's
Well,
where
people
I'm
find this
like,
good, so that's the problem.
Damn. Okay.
So your
that
eyes
doesn't make it good.
no, well, the majority is that people find this story appealing. It's fun.
And
it's good,
and
and so it's
and
hard.
to play devil's advocate with that, I mean, SAO, people found that good. I mean, look at Pat. He's wrong, but
No, Pat's not wrong. Pat is
What?
not wrong.
It's a joke.
Why
It's a
is
joke.
yeah? Well, why
But
is SAO
the
getting
thing
attacked?
is,
Honestly, I think
SAO got
we
a
should be
revision
focusing
out
on
of
why
it.
Pat's wrong here. That's
I like
SAO got a
SAO
revision
too.
out
They
of
all
it.
come
That's what
together
I'm
around
trying to
that.
say.
I
Because
like SAO
progressive
too.
is like progressive revises Kirito's like
Let's not get
Kirito's
off topic.
personality.
Why don't we progress onto something else?
Well, let me
Look
Tommy,
at-
top tier.
let me
top tier
bounce
segue.
off Cat because like okay, so how I do like reviewing and stuff like that is like comparing themes to other shows that I've seen in the past. So let's say this is a type of show where it has the serious undertones while also mixing in bits of comedy. We just did Golden Kamuy. Why is Golden Kamuy good but Bungo Stray Dogs is bad? And so like we have to like look at those themes and elements, and I guess to me that's where like Bungo Stray Dog or like okay, so for instance Golden Kamuy did a really good job with like just saying like hina when we're eating. Like it's very silly. It's people have to eat. It's just like a really easy undertone to take in while we're enjoying it. Bungo Stray Dogs to me is like sorry Cat, it's like non-baka where they're like taking the joke and shoving it down my throat and they're like this is funny, you should laugh at it instead of just me interpreting the joke. And that's kind of like how I interpreted like the comedy while taking in these serious undertones as well. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, it's just like for me, the reason for me that the switch doesn't work here, and it is usually switches need to breathe, right? They could be as sudden as you want, but you need to let them breathe, right? So like if a scene is gonna switch, like I'm trying to think of like a scene from Hunter x Hunter, but like for example, there's
Soka
in
getting a boner in the middle of fighting kids.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You
Oh,
don't?
spoiler! Spoiler!
listen,
Come
listen.
on.
But I was gonna use the scene like early on. They're doing the Hunter
Fucking
exams.
Oh, not that one.
No,
Not
no,
gonna use that one.
The-
Okay.
no. I'm gonna because they're early on because it's a lot harder for. I still don't understand fully how to go from
Harder.
yeah. So Killua walks up, right? They're having these fights, and it's very shonen in the Hunter exams. And then Killua walks up, the music stops, the screen starts having like an old film effect, and he just rips someone's heart out, right? And it's a very big tone shift because while the other fights were definitely life threatening, they were still in the air of shonen, very fun. But like they let not Killua, right? Did something crazy, and they acknowledged that the tone switched because they like stopped the music. There was a pause. You like saw Killua's eyes. In this show, things change and they act like they didn't. Like they were always serious or they were always, they don't acknowledge the abruptness of their own
I,
tone
I'm
shift.
gonna give what I guess is a hot take because the tone shifting in Golden Kamui bothered me. The tone shifting in this didn't bother me. I just didn't find the humor funny. Like I didn't feel like I had whiplash. I just felt like whatever percentage of the show was comedy was just not for me.
What about the scene where he's like tied up and then you find
I
out like
wanted
he's
to go about that,
mafia and then they have like their like serious like dialogue and fights and they punch each other and then at the end he's like, say the voice for me, and then he does like that stupid voice. It's just like
That has to be like some kind of Japanese joke or some shit
That
like
really
that. I
is.
just
Like,
didn't
what's the-
understand.
it's like Jay, you'll get this reference for Fire Force when you have like super serious moments and then the
No, I
chick
get-
the chick
yeah.
just like loses her top. It's just like you take the moment away from me. That's not what I was invested in, and this is like the
I
exact
think it
same thing with
highlights
Bungo.
their relationship in some
Yeah,
way,
I mean,
though, because
I agree, but
what's
like
his name
it's like the scene
has
itself.
daddy issues.
Yeah, but
right?
it's like the scene itself is like a very serious undertone. Like if that is the
okay.
case, like I don't know. Like
I don't know if
feel
I'm
like
looking.
the dialogue before that would have also been like jokingly as well.
So,
Like,
so my thought is so here's my read into this scene. Okay, feel that I'm giving it too much credit. All you want, I might be. He comes in, and this is essentially their first time confronting each other face to face since, what's his name has defected from the Port Mafia, and yeah, and he's in charge now, right? So he thinks he has him where he wants him, but he doesn't because he's like uber 40 chess smart, right? So he starts the conversation. Sorry, what's the villain's name?
Which
Takugawa.
I don't know.
Oh, you're talking,
Takugawa?
you're talking about Chuya. Chuya.
I think he's talking about Chuya.
I think so. Oh, is he?
Am I talking about Chuya?
Chuya
You're
Nakamoto.
talking
The
about
orange hair guy?
Yes. I
The orange
assume
hair
The
that-
guy who has the
Yes, that is-
conversation with our main
that is
Shuya.
Shuya.
Yeah, so he used to be his apprentice or whatever. He's heard about his new apprentice. Like he's coming in trying to like prove his worth and stuff, and then like after that,
No,
He
the
gets
apprentice
stunned.
is
He gets
Akagawa.
stunned. No, but Chuya was
partner.
Gazai's yeah, it was his partner. But
His
yeah.
partner?
Shula is
Okay,
his
yeah.
partner, and the guy
Akagawa's
with
the
the
apprentice.
crazy kill demon was his apprentice.
The,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
the guy
So
Dazai abused.
okay, anyways, they had a prior relationship, and he's going in trying to play a role that he's not used to, where he's trying to like be his boss or whatever, like show that he's in charge, that he's better and stuff. And like
Mhm.
once he's finished with that, he reverts back to like their prior relationship or whatever. Is sort of how I took it. Like
Yeah.
that he isn't super competent at being the bad guy, really.
Yeah, but like
I agree
Okay.
with that, honestly.
it's like okay. My biggest issue is that like this is like a big deal for the mafia because they're like, oh, like like you committed a serious crime, like you were an exec and then you became a traitor. Like we're gonna send you to like everyone at the top, and they're gonna like execute you in front of everyone to like learn your lesson and stuff. And then like he's guarded by literally no one, just in a room by himself.
There's no one for the mafia to guard him by because the mafia really reek of season 1 throwaway villain. Like,
Oh, so like they're meant to lose.
yes. I
So
mean,
is it
that's my
like
read on it.
so is it just like
I don't think the
gross
Mafia is
incompetence
I don't think
intentionally?
they're necessarily a throwaway villain. I feel like they're more being set up for an uneasy alliance against the Americans.
Like I think
That's
it's
possible as well.
And
I mean,
they
but don't
don't
you
want
find the
it to, they
underlings
don't
kind of
want it to
throwaway, Jay?
I mean, they're mooks in an anime, man. I'm not gonna fucking complain about
they're
it.
like your
Like,
Yeah,
like
I'm
your
just saying
standard
they aren't
shonen villain.
like
they're
bone
mooks,
dread or
man.
something. You know what I mean? Like some sort of force
Yeah.
that is
Well,
I mean,
untouchable.
there was something at like the guy at the end, who was voiced by Hisoka. He was pretty fucking sinister, and he was able
The
to just
boss
like
is. I'll
he
agree
was
with that. But
he was
his
able to just
underlings fail at essentially every turn.
also
They're
like
like
I don't.
Jesse and James compared to Giovanni.
It, it's like I don't
That's a
know.
good
I
comparison.
felt like a lot of the because a lot of character like with the mob boss, right? For me, the mob boss scene didn't like even then it didn't feel like he was super powerful because the two people on screen, Atsushi and the brother early on, which when you think about it is kind of wrong, says that his ability isn't very well suited for combat, even though he's creating a digital fucking realm. But
Yeah.
and
Yeah, it
then
The
might be
reason why he
worth it.
says that is because the shit disappears whenever he gets violence or does violence. So like he gets
Mhm.
like one attack off at most
Yeah.
with his ability.
So he says that, and then you get Atsushi, which is like he's starting to learn how to use his ability, and then this new person that we haven't really met before. So this fight, comparatively to like the other fights in the show, in my opinion, like Octagawa versus Atsushi and stuff, it's not super high like state. And then he like freezes a girl with like just his fucking JoJo menacing stare,
Yeah.
and it's like cool, but I don't know how powerful she's not like a super big threat for me to be like, oh, that's super impressive. He's powerful, cool, but like how powerful is she? It didn't really hit for me, you know what I mean?
I mean,
And
she could lock you in a dimension forever if her thing touches
Yeah,
you,
she
and she
seems
has like
and
pretty strong.
I
like
mean,
she
homie
basically the only reason anybody survived is because they had the perfect two combination of people to go in there.
true.
Like if it
But
wasn't at sushi, then he wouldn't have been able to like escape. And if it
the,
wasn't Tanizaki, then he wouldn't
I
have been
don't.
able to do the fake door. Like they
Yeah.
just had the perfect two people basically.
Well, I think it's just Tanizaki with anyone, you know what I mean? Because he has his own realm too.
Well,
It's
anybody
like,
else would have just gotten caught. They don't have the agility to keep away from the fucking thing like Atsushi does
yeah,
with his
I
tiger
don't
shit.
even really remember you're right, but I don't remember everyone's abilities, so.
Yeah,
Um,
well, no, they
He's
don't
were
have like
tiger, so
yeah, he's just
yeah,
like a
quick,
were tiger, so
strong,
he's just
yeah.
Furry.
fast.
But
and furry.
I think it just goes back to like what Pete said at the beginning. There feels like so much inconsistency in this first part. Like things just like aren't like that fight shouldn't have been at the end in my opinion. Because I thought the Octagawa Atsushi fight was like a lot more important and impactful and like it showed a lot more about like why is Octagawa the way he is, which we don't really know, you know what I mean? And it like ties together a bit of like Dazai and like his storyline. And then it's just this last episode that just feels very disconnected for the sake of
Because
introducing.
it's episode 1 of arc 2, which is randomly stuck with the first 11 episodes, which are of arc 1.
Yeah,
Like,
again, the production shit was just weird with
Okay,
them doing one season instead
that
of
makes
a two
sense
core.
because
yeah, had we done more research into like the production, I imagine that we would have wanted to put this into like a 2-core episode.
Yeah,
If
I
we were
actually I should have done a little bit more research. That's my bad, guys. But I
I
think
don't think so, since it's marketed as a separate season.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
like
marketed as
it's not
season
your
1, season
fault.
2. It's not your
It's just
fault.
like this.
This to me is I thought it was fine as its own season, to be honest, especially by the end. I was like,
I didn't
okay,
hate it.
it built up for season 2. Is that a good thing? Not necessarily, but that's also things that shows I like do all the time. It's just, but it is
Mhm.
what they got to do. Like obviously
Yep.
it clearly would have been better as a 2-core show, but so would have a lot of shows that ended up only being 12 episodes, right? Like I don't know.
Wonder Egg
Um,
priority.
Land of
or
the Lustrous.
there you go, Land of the Lustrous. I was hinting at there, like Golden Kamui. We see
Actually,
second season's pretty great, and it would have been just the same if it was connected to the first season because it's just a continuous story, right? Like I don't know. I think that's a. It's okay to criticize it if it like. So in my opinion, at least, like because Land of the Lustrous just throws a bunch of shit at you at the last second and then leaves it. I didn't feel that badly about this one. Like right at the end, it introduces like, oh, this is the big main villain, by the way, but at least he's part of the organization that like has been the villain throughout the story, right, to this point, and that
Well, originally it was supposed to be a continuation to the second season, but it was canceled in order to promote for the actual manga. And there's still kind of some. Anyway, that's Land of Lustrous talk. Moving on.
well, then good. We shouldn't do that right now because it's Bungo
Yeah, I
Stray
was
Dogs.
confused. I thought you
Jay,
were talking
what?
about BSC.
I was too. All right. What were you gonna say, Jay, or what was gonna be your question you mentioned?
Oh, if Miles wanted us, it was just a little fun question. If Miles wanted to
Yeah,
discuss,
let's end with fun because I just want to talk about episode 7 really quick because I hated episode 7 from like a structural standpoint. Watching it was like kind of fun, but like meta, I just didn't like it. And that's because so episode 7's the one where they're trying to figure out the bomb, like where that is and everything. So
Yeah.
the woman they rescued like an episode or two ago in the fish tank, um, they're talking about the bomb or whatever, and she's like, "Oh, you mean like the Azure whatever bomb people? There's a rumor that da 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 da, and this is why they're doing it." And she just explains exactly the situation, and they're all just like, "Oh, wow, thanks for the tip. How do you know that?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm a psychiatrist or something." And they're like, "Wow, that's so useful." This is people who like 2 episodes ago found a killer because he used the wrong verb tense
Yeah.
in a
Literally.
sentence.
In a
And then they
sentence.
weren't
Yeah.
at all like, wait, how does this lady who gets found in a fish tank know everything about this bomb? Um, they then call in their detective ex machina to find the bomb, and he's just like, bomb here. So like I love detective
Bomb has
characters, but
been
I
planted.
think that they like I don't know, he was a little too ex machina y.
I liked him honestly. I thought he
And
was
I
funny.
enjoyed his personality, but like I think the power's a little too. Why don't we just use this all the time?
Well, he doesn't
Um,
have a power, but yeah, I get you.
okay, yes, he's always right though. So they,
Maybe in the second season, but yeah, I don't know. But
yeah.
for this, you're right. He is kind of an ex machina, him and the Doctor.
So when they go to fight, um, the person who's guarding the bomb, the guy who's guarding the bomb has the most busted power of all time. It is he kills you 100% of the time.
Yeah.
He puts like a number on your hand, and he can control you from anywhere on the entire planet.
Move you
And
anywhere he wants.
and once he's done that enough, you die. So Dazai gets this on him, and I don't know how he lives. I don't think they explain how
It's
it goes away.
Not
Oh,
Dazai erases people's powers.
Dazai's
Oh,
power.
okay, wait, no.
Instead
So
of
who's the
power
other
just
guy?
means-
Blonde guy? Sorry.
Oh,
Kunikita.
Doppio.
Okay, so
Doppo.
Doppio gets it.
Doppo.
So my
Nikita
only thought was
Doppo.
that when Dazai doesn't let him use his power on him, does that also cancel the other usage of the power?
I think it gets rid of I think it probably depends on the power, but I'm assuming for something like that, it would cleanse all of the marks.
Okay, that was the only thing. They never addressed it, so I was very
Yeah,
worried.
this is me guessing.
Okay. So anyways, he gets super automatic death on him and manages to live because I don't know, he does. Then we learn that his power is the ability to materialize any object as long as he understands its function, and it's like, so many grams basically. Now
He has to know
Well enough
the
to fit in a book.
mechanics, right?
he needs to know the function of it, not necessarily the mechanics, but like the
Gotcha.
form and
Okay.
function, like Aristotle or whatever. And it needs to be smaller than his notebook, which is the most busted power of
It's
all
strong
time.
as fuck.
Like they should be billionaires. So
Well, about that.
oh, are they?
I mean,
Well, there's inflation to worry about.
well,
sure, you can do the math.
we met a character whose power is that but better, basically. But
Okay.
they didn't show their power
Oh,
yet.
true. So he even though the leader of this operation had completely scouted out these people, the villains didn't know what they were dealing with, so the guy was like, "Here's the key. It's the only way to win." To the guy. So like that needed to happen even though they should have been warned. So they save the day. Then they find out that the lady is the bad guy. And they had just been like really forcing this romantic relationship between her and blonde guy, and he was like, "No, I've been betrayed." And it's like, come on, dude, you knew this was coming. This happened in episode 5 and 6 and now in 7. She shoots hacker dude like twice, and hacker dude like falls to the ground. They have a doctor that can, no matter what, as long as you have a spark of life, you get to live. And they just go in a long talk back and forth, not trying to save this man's life at all. And so they talk. The lady's like, "I want to kill myself." And then they're like, "Okay, we'll kill you." And then she puts her gun down and is like, "But now you can't because it's illegal." And they drop the gun down so that hacker guy who they didn't try to save or perform any first aid on can shoot her dead. Just so many things happen in this that were like predictable ex machinas, not explained and stuff. And once I saw this episode, I was like, this is going to be the worst show I've ever seen in my entire life. And then the true miracle of Bungo Stray Dogs happened. Because after that low point, it just kept on getting better. It was really weird. Anyways, I needed to go on a rant about that episode because I thought it was bad.
I remember having the same initial reaction where I was just like, "Wow, these guys who can deduce all of this stuff, like, were not able to figure out that she was like somewhat involved in it." I don't know. It was
Sometimes
just
we all have to firmly grasp the idiot ball in order for the plot to move forward. Is the thing.
yeah.
I
no.
completely
That part.
blocked all of the reasoning that you just mentioned, Miles, out when I was watching the show because, like, I remember on, I think it was like Christmas Eve, we were talking, or it was the day before Christmas Eve. We were talking about this whole thing, and I was like, okay, I'll pay attention. I could, like, it wasn't like I didn't I just couldn't, because like if I feel like if I did I would have just quit. I would have not shown up today.
Honestly, fair enough. I think that you can apply logic to most of the episodes, but that one you certainly couldn't. Jay, I know you had a fun question for us to sort of wrap things up before we do our normal wrap up stuff.
Fun question. What author, be it a mangaka or a regular author or like even a YA author or something like that, would you want to see a fictionalized version of this? And you don't necessarily have to say what their ability would do, but what would you call their ability? And I will start, and I would have to go with. I gotta look at the name of the author real quick. Yeah, I would go with Arthur Miller, and I would want to see the Crucible as an ability.
Death of a Salesman, also possible,
Yes.
B ability.
Hmm.
God, that's so hard.
I am someone who loves OC. I'm a sucker for a series like this where you can design characters around whatever and just not have to worry about the actual story. It's why I like JoJo's and shit as well. So this sort of thing, like that, definitely got me about this series. I can see why people enjoy it for the OC factor. I will say that much.
I will give a weeb answer. I will say I would do Ryukishio 7, and the ability would, of course, be When They Cry.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that would actually be pretty
That's on
cool
brand.
as an
When
ability
I
name.
cry.
I think I do a callback from earlier. I think I do Stephen King, and let's go with Misery. Misery sounds like a good ability name.
like it.
Ooh, yeah. Or Pet Cemetery would be good too.
Very broken.
Yeah. Um.
Little Shop of Horrors. I think that's a book too. That might be a good one. It's not a Stephen King book, but yeah.
I will do Dave Pilkey, and I will do the power being named the big bad battle bionic booger boy and something whatever because that's Captain Underpants.
I was like, did he write Captain Underpants?
Yeah, I was thinking
I
it was
don't
gonna
know.
be his power is Diary of a Wimpy Kid or some shit
No,
like that.
I don't know. Captain Underpants was the last time I read something meaningful in my life. So
Man.
some good sarcasm, but hey, God, that's a goated series right there. So Dave Pilkey, if
Mhm.
you're listening, I love you, man.
Sponsor us.
You did a good job. He's still going apparently somehow.
Yeah, he is. He's
I
got
Sir,
guess-
a series.
Sir Stinks a Lot is the most, and it's the most recent, and the sensational saga of Sir Stinks a Lot is the most recent in the series.
Nice.
All right, go ahead,
I
continue.
guess, is it my turn now? I guess.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I guess on that note, I'll do Jeff Kinney, and his ability will be a sociopath, because I just remember a story where someone on YouTube made a video about how the main character is a sociopath, and the author took it down.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Jeff Kenny,
Alright.
is that Diary of a Wimpy Kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh.
the video. Yeah, he actually took down a YouTube video calling the main character a sociopath.
That's
Well,
pretty funny.
Now I want to go look up a mirror of that and watch it.
Yeah,
No,
it's
no,
very
I'll send it to you right now.
Thank you.
great. Haz, do you have one?
Yeah, I have two. I can't decide. It's either Josh Steinbeck and his abilities of Mice and Men, or Raid Bradbury and it's Fahrenheit 451. Those both sound like cool ass moves.
Just
Yo,
pyrokinesis
that
for
is
Yeah.
Fahrenheit
awesome. I did not
451.
think of that.
Yeah, those both sound like cool ass moves.
So wait, I think John Steinbeck. Okay, so John
John
Steinbeck
Steinbeck is a
is in
character,
it.
actually. Yeah.
Oh,
That
he is.
is
Is his
Has
power
that
of
is
Mice and Men?
His
that is
power is the Grapes of Wrath.
That's what I was thinking it was
Oh.
going to be.
That's a pretty
actually.
cool
That's a
move. name,
cool
too.
ass name.
Yeah.
Has
was-
you just pulled something out of your ass, and I don't think you understand. I don't like to read like regular books, and you pulled
Nah, bro.
2 books that I've actually read out of your ass.
Nah, bro. I've read of Mice and Men.
Power should be
for
Flowers
school.
of Altamont, and it makes people
Two of the
really
most
dumb.
popular books
Yeah.
ever. He
Really
pulled it out of
smart
his
and really
ass.
dumb.
Look,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Flowers of
Alice is
Algernon
very
would be a good
illiterate.
one. Thank goodness
I'm
we
not
did this tier
illiterate.
list. We did a tier list like 2 weeks ago of
Yeah.
required reading books as a group, and it's so good that we are
that
Whoa,
I wasn't
well
on
read
it.
podcast.
seeing all the
Kat, do you
build
still
up
have
to
to
this.
give your power real quick?
Yeah. So my power. Well, my author would be Ernest Cline, and the power would be called Parzival.
Oh, Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's a good answer. I was thinking of the guy.
Wasn't-
What's
Sorry,
it called?
this is kind of
Go ahead, Johnny.
okay. I'm sorry. I just wanted to clarify. Wasn't the main character like really creepy in the books?
Nope.
No.
Yep.
Nope.
Nope. He was.
No, he wasn't.
I swear he was like
Parzival?
We can
I don't
talk
know,
about this.
he was
We'll
like
talk
he was
about
like
this
an
off
incel
air,
or
but
something.
We'll talk about it afterwards.
Yeah.
but
Anyways,
Yeah,
anyways, that was awesome.
Great. Very off topic. That's okay. We're very good at that, it seems. So let's wrap up. We are approaching a long time here. So what we'll do is we'll do final thoughts, but we'll also include best boy in your final thoughts. Remember, try and keep
Or
this nice.
girl.
Or girl. Well, are there enough girls in the? I guess
Yes,
there's
because my
more.
favorite character is a girl.
There's like 4 girls.
Okay, fine. Do your best character. I guess. And then your closing thoughts and your final score, please. And thank you. So, Kat, why don't you start us off?
So my final thoughts are actually written down this time. I've got notes. Not
I'm
very many,
impressed.
but I've got notes. For me, just going down my list. So first of all, I wanted to mention the sound design because we didn't really mention that too much. Personally, it like the background sound design felt kind of like the background music from Bleach in a way, where they had like extra like vocals into it rather than something like maybe what's it called, Made in Abyss, uh where they had more atmospheric music. It was really just kind of extra music that they put in. And Jay, I know you actually mentioned that you thought the sound design was good. I don't share the same opinion. Because
Well, you don't
it-
like jazz, then I guess. It's okay.
I do like some types of jazz. This was not my type of jazz.
You like jazz?
You like jazz, boy?
I'm off
Um,
topic.
Yes. Now the visuals were a little bit. I felt that they were mediocre because like taking it from I kind of felt the the same type of feeling of character design from Nanbaka because they both had that kind of like slim character feel. The difference was that Nanbaka had a lot more sparkles, and I personally like this, but this one felt more like kind of characters that the main character of Barakamon would draw. If you get that reference, cool. If you don't,
He does
fine.
calligraphy. I don't get that
Yes.
reference.
Yes, he does calligraphy. The character design feels like it's made out of calligraphy. That was the joke. But it just feels like the same type of like husbando, female gender centric uh type of character design. And I compared the two and I felt like this one was a little bit lesser. Uh the story I couldn't really get on board with it until the last few episodes, and even then I wasn't completely on board. It felt more like a show that I would put on the background. And the characters really weren't that none of them really stuck out to me. Except for Kyoka, the last chick that they had, and that was mainly because it was the one character that was introduced when the story was actually good. And that is actually my best character because she was introduced when the story was good. Uh, I probably would have gone with the dude with the ability of the Great Gatsby if I knew what his ability actually was and if he got fleshed out more, but didn't. Um, but overall, for my final score and final thoughts and everything, uh, I was toiling between the excuse me. I was toiling between a 5 and a 6. And I had to come down to the conclusion of a of whether the show was better than Aramenga Sensei and Shield Hero.
Well, yes.
Um and whether if it was worse than Pet. And ultimately I decided it was better than Shield Hero because it doesn't have slavery in it. So my final score
You don't know that.
is a 5 because Pet because Pet is still better than this.
Okay.
So
All right. Has, what have you got?
Yeah, I didn't get to talk about this, but sort of to Miles sort of mentioned it. It does get better. I think 8 and 9 specifically, or 8, 9, 10, probably the strongest episodes in my opinion. I
I agree with that
really
too.
the art, like the train, the fights on the train were good. The visuals are fine. There was one weird thing I noticed where it's like, when things are far away, they draw in less detail. I thought there were moments where like the faces were just blank and
No,
there was
I
nothing on their
noticed that
face,
too.
and they were
Yeah.
really close to the screen, and I was like,
Um,
"Can you
that's in the
draw it?"
manga, by the way. That's just following manga style.
Oh,
Oh,
well, okay then.
Yep.
well,
Well,
it
it
was
sucks.
it's
Yeah.
it was a
No,
lot,
sorry.
and on a small page
I
I could
don't
get that.
disagree, but
No, it's
that's
okay.
why
But
they
That was
did it.
funny.
yeah. But like the way it was super close to the screen, which is why I was like, it took me out sometimes. But other than that, I thought it was a fine art style. How the sound design was whatever. It's good. And I think because it ended on a, even though I think like the last episode itself wasn't too hot, but like the overall feeling of the last 4 episodes, 5, were good. I felt better, and I raised my score. So for me, it's gonna be a 5. And my favorite character out of the whole show is Kyoka. Kyoka is the center of my favorite part of the show. And I think her and Atsushi's interaction is great. The way she was introduced, her power is cool as fuck. The training scene is just cool as fuck. And yeah, I mean, it, a 5 to me is average. It's not, like just because I know it's 5 to me is average. I think it's an average show. In terms of husbandos, I'm straight, but like I think there are better husbando shows out there. Like I don't know, see, fucking Sebastian from Black Butler is like way more attractive than all the people here. Um, so I don't know if you're looking for husbandos, they're here, but I think there are like even better shows for that. So that's how I feel.
Fair enough. All right. Miles, what have you got?
Yeah, so God, you all picking like characters from like when the show gets better and stuff. So I'm gonna pick the character that my dick picked. Um,
Fair.
and that's gonna be Akiko. Um, just because aesthetically, I think she's like 10 out of 10. Um, I really dig the butterfly hair piece. Um, and doctors are hot. I like women who are smarter than me. So that's a lot of women, but her too. Um, so that's my best girl. Final thoughts. God, I can't freaking believe this. I came out of the show enjoying the damn thing. There were a lot of issues at the beginning, but because I have a monkey brain, I really grasp onto like the last thing that happened, and the last bits of it I enjoyed. I enjoyed the boat fight, even if it wasn't the best fight. I felt like there was like actual tension and stuff there. Um, you know, I enjoyed the characters that were introduced. I enjoyed that it stopped making as many awful suicide jokes. I really thought that the show found itself in those things. I'm going to probably try season 2 at some point. I am genuinely surprised that I'm saying this because like through episode 7 I probably would have like given this like a 3 or a 4, but I'm going to give this a 6 overall, but it's like a 6 plus because um, I think the last like 4 or 5 episodes I would give like a high 7 or an 8. And I'm willing to give it more of a chance, I guess. So that's my thought. 6.
I like it. All right, Jay, what about you?
Um, hmm. First off, I would say that the high point for me is probably I liked the I don't know. A lot of people didn't really seem to notice the OST or anything, but I really enjoyed it. There was some good like jazz guitar stuff there and like just jazz in general, I guess. Um I think that the show was pretty good. It would have been a lot better as a two-core show. Like they really I don't know how much agency they had over that, but they really kind of messed up the formatting there in my opinion, I think. Um the characters were pretty I think the characters were pretty good overall, minus them like firmly grasping the idiot ball at points for the sake of plot. Um Character designs were good, like pretty good, I should say. Animation was nothing terrible. Nothing to super write home about at points, I would say, but nothing god awful. Um Overall, I would have to give the show like I would have to say like probably like a 6.5 for me. Um for the first
Well,
season.
you
Maybe
have to
like
pick. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. I need.
You
I
have
need.
to pick. This is
I
your manga
need.
club.
This
Either
is.
6 or 7.
You know,
okay, I'll go with
or an
7.
8 if you're feeling
I'll go with
spicy.
7.
You go with a 7. Okay.
6.5 rounds to 8.
Yeah. Well, that's why if he's feeling spicy, but a 7. Okay. That no. But go
eh,
ahead. Continue. Sorry, I didn't
oh,
mean to interrupt.
sorry.
Continue.
No, it's okay, it's okay. And as for best character, um it's actually tough because I feel like I liked most of the characters quite a bit, but I gotta go with who I feel like had by far the most like actual character development and development of his themes, and I gotta go with Kunikita. Like I feel
Good.
like he had a lot of really good interactions with people, and I feel like overall he is kind of like the emotional core of the cast in a lot of ways. Him and Atsushi anyway, obviously. So yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I like that. I'll comment on that later. Johnny, what have you got?
Alright, so for me, like, obviously there were a few glaring issues with like how I had about like the tone and all that stuff. But for the most part, like the word I would say for the show is that I feel indifferent. It's just like, yeah, there's some parts I like, there's some parts I didn't like, but at the end of the day, I just like I don't really care about anything that goes on. Like I'm just there to like watch stuff goes down. There's nothing that really grabs my attention that much. And then with the flaws, it's just like I really can't give this that high of a score. Like I don't hate it as much as Pete does probably, but so because of that, I'm gonna give this a 6 out of 10. I do think there are some good things, such as like the character designs, and also I didn't notice the music that much, but like the times I did notice it, it was pretty nice. So yeah, I will agree with Jay on that part. And for the best character, I will go with Kilka as well because I believe that I felt like she had the most like actual development throughout the show apart from the Atsushi, even though like he didn't have too much in my opinion, but like those two felt like they actually kind of changed throughout the show, which is a good thing. So yeah, that's fine.
All right. Very short and sweet. Well done, Johnny. Pete,
Feels
what
like
have you
something
got?
else.
All right.
Well,
Me.
that's good to know.
As we know, Miles is the monkey brain of the podcast. Luckily for me, I have a giant ass head. Therefore, I am the mega mind of the podcast. And
You
I'm
are an
here to
asset, I'll
remind
say that.
everybody that episodes 1 through 7 did exist. And that should be heavily weighted to your score. I personally believe episodes 7, 5, and anything with Naomi is a legit 1 out of 10. Naomi legit removed me from every single episode that she was in. The inconsistencies of Bungo Stray Dogs. Why do some people die after 2 shots and Naomi can get sprayed with an Uzi and she's perfectly fine after, I don't know, hanging out for like, bleeding out for like 10 minutes before she gets to a doctor? That's cool. Why does the doctor survive a grenade right in front of her and somebody else on the or 3 people on the train die from 1 explosion?
Because that's her power. She can't die.
No, she can.
No, she like this. She has to like
No,
almost
she can.
die and then
She
come
can
back.
heal. She can heal herself too.
Correct, but if somebody is dead, she cannot revive them. So why does she have superhuman powers that she can survive a grenade blast and other people
First
can't?
grenade takes shrapnel, heals it. Second grenade takes the
Okay,
shrapnel, is not damaged
point
anymore,
blank
heals
grenade.
it.
Spoiler alert: you die. Like you don't.
Spoiler alert: that dude seemed hella incompetent at designing his own shit.
Also, the
I mean,
grenades are
he's
shaped
been
like
known to kill like
lemons.
30 plus people. I feel like he knows what he's doing with grenades. It's not just that scene. It's just why does the hacker get shot twice and he can
That
somehow?
grenade was a lemon.
It's a lemon bomb. It's like
Lemonade. You
Yeah.
fucking.
okay, but like it's like those inconsistencies of like why
That's a
do the
joke.
plot armor of the characters exist and why don't they exist for other people? I wish that was just explained like a little bit. Also, why does Naomi exist? Her character is so pointless. She adds absolutely nothing to the show. She absolutely ruined episodes 2 and 3 for me. Also, Rompo, terrible character. The whole Miles touched on it where he solved the entire episode because the dude said the verb wrong was one of the worst episodes in anime I've ever seen in my entire life. I thought it was just absolute dog shit. The goods of this show, I thought the characters' design and like their actual wardrobe was really well done. I thought it was really aesthetically to look at these people. It was really fun. That being said, Mel has a very bad at a 3. I'm giving Bungo Stray Dogs a 3.
I agree that episode when he was like bad mouthing the cops too, Rampo was like, "Oh, you're idiots. How could you have not figured this thing out?" It was just like, dude, shut up. You're being such a dick for no. I don't know. It bothered me a lot. He's just built different. You're right. So I'll do my final thoughts as well. First, I think the best, my favorite character, or best character was who was it? Was it Jay who agreed with me that Kunikita was the best character? I can't
Yeah.
remember off the top.
I like-
Yeah,
yeah,
what's
yeah,
yeah,
I
you
liked
did
him.
you did say all right, good. I can remember. Good.
Yes.
I really liked him a lot. I thought he was I watched dub, by the way. I don't know how many people watch dub versus sub, but I thought the
also
dub was
watched dub.
actually really good. I thought that
I
the
thought it was
characters
fine.
The
like
dub
I
was
mean
not
not
good.
I didn't oh really? Oh wow. Well,
I watched the dub mainly because I didn't want to ruin myself with sub. So
interesting. I don't know. I thought the dub was pretty good. Like all the characters sounded appropriately aged and like personality wise as well. I don't know. I do agree. A lot of the characters at the start for me, where this show goes wrong is at the beginning. So many of the characters were not likable. You know, like I don't know. Nakajima was a whiny little bitch. He didn't really I didn't care about him. Dazai is just, oh, haha, I'm gonna kill myself, haha, I'm gonna die, or I wanna, oh, look at how romantic it would be if you died with me, lady. Like, oh my god, double suicide, so hot, you know, like it's just like, all right, we get it. He never shuts up about it, which is one of the reasons why I don't like him. But all of the characters did grow on me eventually. I do agree though, Naomi is just awful. Like it's just like, oh, this is just anime, but like everything I hate about anime, put into a character. But overall, the cast did eventually grow on me. I don't, and so did the show apparently, because I did end up enjoying it, especially after that awful episode in episode 7. I did enjoy the show enough to give it a 6 out of 10 because I could see myself watching more of it. I don't think I will, but I could. So I definitely don't want to give it a horrible score. I do agree that the aesthetics were really nice. Outfits were great. I liked the ED a lot. I don't know if any. I didn't like the OP at all, but the ED was really good. I know Jay, you mentioned the OST in general was good. I agree with that. I but I especially loved the ED. It was just a very nice, pleasant ED.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say for this. I did not think it was as horrendous as I was worried I was going to think it was after the first couple days of discussion. I'm glad that the show kind of recovers itself by the end, and I think we all agreed on that aspect of it at least. But yes, so our final total score, averaging all of our scores together for Bungo Stray Dogs, is a 5.43. So that is, what is that, 2 and change points lower than on Mal?
Yes.
Yep,
What was
about
It
that.
is also
uh,
7.81.
7.81? Yeah, so that is quite a difference. I don't know. I feel like we don't differ that much when it's a score this high usually, but uh clearly we are not the target audience for the show either.
Well, in
So
Arcade Battlefront, we had like a 5-point difference.
that's true. That is the other big outlier, though. Like other than that, though, generally speaking, we're usually within 1 to 1.5 points. But yeah, so our that wraps up our discussion of Bungo Stray Dogs. So Miles, we only had 4 nominations last week. What did we end up voting on?
Sure. So we voted on Serial Experiments Lane, which has the quote unquote J factor associated with it. We voted on some
Don't do
other
me like
shows.
that.
Sunny Boy. I am using my wife's laptop, so I don't have both monitors. So we're really seeing how good my memory is here. We also voted on The Princess and the Pilot and Erased. There we go.
Good
Um,
job. I'm proud of you.
So for third, we had a two-way tie between Serial's Experiments Lane and The Princess and the Pilot. So they both earn a legacy point. This is the second legacy point for Serial Experiments Lane, because I had nommed it a while back. And then this is the first for Princess and the Pilot, but it sounds like Pat's gonna just watch that. So
Yeah, not gonna matter anymore. I'm watching
um,
them
in,
one.
in second we have Erased, and in first we have
Let's go.
Sunny.
Let's go.
So we will be watching the Mega Minds pick Sunny Boy next
Ooh.
next Watch Club.
Damn.
Yes, that is correct. We are watching
Damn.
Sorry, Has.
Sunny Boy.
Let's go.
I live in the worst timeline.
It's
We all
Madhouse.
live
Come
in the worst
on.
timeline.
It is Madhouse.
That's not the problem.
Let's
We
not
are,
be mad.
we
No.
are the madhouse.
We are not mad in our house right now as we nominate shows for
Yes.
what is it?
Pat, do you mind writing these down this week?
Yeah, I can handle that.
Thanks.
I'm smart enough. Yeah. January 24th is what we're nominating for our club meeting on that date. So please nominate or send me well, why am I saying that like that? Let's do it the normal way, Patrick. Kat, what are you nominating for this week's Watch Club? Or 2 weeks from now is voting. How did I screw
Well,
that up so much?
I was thinking about maybe nominating something else, but I was thinking about nominating my backup pick, but I think I'm gonna double up on Erased.
Erased.
Yeah.
Okay. Erased. That is spelled erased and being added to the message. All right. Um, who's next? Has. I know you sent me your
Yeah,
anime
just because the
art.
name is long.
All right,
I'm
but
gonna be
please
nominating.
describe it to us. Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna be nominating. Just for reference, the recommendations go as follows: Date Alive, The World God Only Knows, The Hentai Prince and the Stony Cat, If Her Flag Breaks, Crawling Chaos, Nyaruku-san, Baka the Test. So clearly among the greats. My mental choices are completely interfering with my school romantic comedy. That's why I'm gonna be nominating for you all today. With a 7.21 on Mal. So
What?
I like
No
it.
way.
pretty high up
Legitimately?
there, legitimately.
Wait, what
Wow.
did you recommend? Sorry, or nominate?
My mental choices are completely interfering with my school romantic comedy.
That's my number one pick.
I think Pat has to because it's a romantic comedy. It sounds like he's a fake fan if he doesn't vote for it.
It
number one.
I don't
does
vote for
sound
it
like
number
that.
one. Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I
It
guess.
has
I guess.
talked about this show like a year ago when he nominated it for Flag Race and said he was going to do this next. So
And then he
you know.
left the Discord.
Yeah.
Man,
And he's
That's-
back. All right. Well, I
has
need to look into this.
nominating some bangers here, bro.
I need to
do
look
it,
into this.
yeah.
But Miles, what is your nomination?
I am just in the mood to look at shiny Kyono Annie characters, so I'm gonna re-up Hibeki Euphonium.
Hibiki Euphonium or Hibiki Euphonia? I don't know.
Hibike.
Sound will
Trade.
work.
So just say English words.
Trade.
Sound-
Hibachi Euphonium.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Sound Euphonium it is. Yeah, shiny girls is right. That's for sure. Jay, what have you got?
Sorry, let me just check the episode count of one thing real quick. Do. No, I'm not recommending that actually. Okay, I'm even if it is 13 episodes, I'm good. I am going to do a classic that has not been discussed yet, and something that is actually shorter than the normal amount of episodes. I am going to nominate the classic Fooly Cooley.
Nice.
Woo! I have not watched that.
I was gonna say you caught my attention with shorter than
It is 6
usual
episodes long.
Wait, does Pat not like anime? Is that what I'm hearing?
Are you just learning that?
Yes.
Neither of
we
your
all hate it.
moderators
Like,
like
what is there
Neither
even
of the
to say about
moderators love
Fooly
anime
Cooley?
I've been
anymore.
looking
I-
for a co-host for 2 years for a reason, because
Hey,
nobody
whoa.
likes anime on this
Whoa.
podcast.
No, I love anime. I just don't love bad anime, which is a lot of the stuff that we recommend. Wink,
Well,
wink.
Fooly
So
Cooley is good. It's got
no,
like heat.
I've heard good
Nambaka
things.
is peak anime, fucker.
Okay.
Also,
Well,
all the
moving on.
opening themes are amazing for Fooly Cooley. So
I've heard nothing but good things about Fooly Cooley. I'm sure I would enjoy it. And it's short, so yeah, that's nice. I'm just bad. I'm just a procrastinator. That's why I like shorter things. Johnny, what have you got?
All right, so me and Haz have had some conversations about our nominations because Haz likes to be a hater and say that like we're all wrong and like we all have terrible taste. So maybe this is just me like shilling to him, but like this is a show I've actually wanted to watch. So I'm gonna nominate Cautious Hero.
Let's fucking go, Johnny. That's what I
There we
like.
go.
I like
Cautious
that. I
Hero.
like that.
know
That's
what
a
that-
W in my.
I'm not voting for.
That is actually a pretty fun show. Let me copy paste that.
Yeah.
Next up is
Haz, I'll take $50. I'll take it in cash.
yeah. Pete, what have you got?
I'm
You're
also
a
going to nominate a quote classic. I'm getting very Psyche K vibes because the main characters are a robot and Freddie Mercury. I am nominating Cromartie High School.
Ooh, that's an out there one.
Marty
that's
High
cool.
School.
What?
It's 26 episodes, but each episode's 12 minutes, so essentially the same thing.
Yeah, same length.
Oh, I
basically.
found the manga for it. Let's see. Spin-off? No. Cromartie. That's a manga. What the? What?
It's called Cromartie High School. Just trust me on this one.
How does it
Yeah,
spell?
I know which one you're talking about.
You might have to send it to Pat because I don't.
I got Pat. Don't worry.
Oh,
Alright.
I found it. I
Yeah,
was spelling
it's-
Cromartie correctly,
yeah.
but for whatever reason, Mal decided that I wasn't. I don't know, and then I spelled it incorrectly, and then it still showed up for me now, so that's cool. Um, Great. That leaves just me, doesn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, we've done all other 6 nominations, so I'm gonna go with a show that I've just been meaning to watch. Not gonna do the movie Princess and the Pilot. I'll just watch that on my own. I'm gonna do Vivi. I think Vivi would be a fun show to talk about,
Hell
and it's
yeah.
one of the highlights
Cool,
from the
that-
last year of anime. So yeah, let's talk about Vivi, guys. That'd be a really cool show to talk about, wouldn't it? Like AI and like the world coming to an end, and just like I don't know. Isn't that kind of what's happening now too? Not that let's not get political. But yeah,
I'll be
that
seeing
wraps
you
up.
guys in a metaverse.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you won't.
Let's that wraps up our watch club though. So Pete, take it away.
Yes, if you have made it this far in the podcast and you want to support us, the best way to do so is like, comment, subscribe, leave a review on whatever platform you're listening on. Hopefully, our episode gets put on Spotify, since I just found out today that they didn't put our last episode on Spotify. Thanks, Anchor. Next week, I will be reviewing the last season of anime. So if you're looking forward to me and my 20 anime reviews, that's happening next week. And then we're going to start our anime of the year process, which is going to be a whole bunch of fun. It's my favorite part of the year. Otherwise, in 2 weeks for Watch Club, we are going to be watching the Madhouse cult classic, even though it came out last summer, Sunny Boy. So we'll see you in 2 weeks for that. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
K Factor.